Hi everyone, this is Arvind from MindMajix, and today I welcome you all to this amazing session on SAP Basis Interview questions. Okay, so guys, this is one such topic for which we have been receiving a lot of requests from our viewers. So we decided to come up with this video, and in this particular video, we will be covering roughly 42 questions, and these questions are divided into two sections. The first section is the SAP Basis Interview questions for freshers, and the second section is SAP Basis Interview questions for the experienced candidates. So this is the whole agenda for this particular video. And before moving ahead, I want you guys to subscribe to MindMajix YouTube channel and also hit that bell icon so that you never miss an update from us. Okay, so without any further delay, let's get started with our first question. Okay, so the first question over here is differentiate between system log, developer trace, and system trace. So guys, as you can see here, we have created three columns. The first one is for system trace, the second one is for system log, and the third one is for the developer trace. Okay, and now if you talk about system trace, so for recording the internal system activities of SAP, so you can use system trace. Next, if you talk about system log, so this is used in order to know the very present logs of the application server. And if you talk about the developer trace, so it is used in order to record certain information. Okay, so this was the first point of differentiation. And now if you talk about the second point, so for system trace, the host or the main system can be very well diagnosed, and also internal problems can be properly handled using this trace. Okay, and if you talk about system log, so logs for CI can also be known properly by using system log. And if you talk about the developer trace, so to monitor the system without any error, a developer trace is used. So guys, these were the differences between system trace, system log, and developer trace. The next question is define OSP. So there are mainly two types of user mechanisms which are named as OPS admin and OPS SAP. So these are used in order to connect as well as communicate with the database internally. So in the system of SAP, these services get created automatically. The next question is define RFC and how many types of RFC are present. So RFC is the abbreviation for remote function call. So this is a type of mechanism which helps in communicating as well as exchanging various types of information across the SAP systems. So there are mainly four types of RFC which are present in SAP Basis, and those are synchronous RFC or SRFC, transactional RFC or TRFC. Last but not the least, you have the queued RFC, which is the QRFC. The next question is, what is transactional RFC? So transactional RFC allows the processing of the sent request for an error in the system, and that too only once. So this is done after allocating an ID for the transaction process, which is also known as the TID or the transaction ID. So it is different from asynchronous RFC only in this aspect. So the availability of the remote system is not necessary at the present moment in the TRFC. The next question is differentiate between JSPM and SDM. So JSPM is the abbreviation for Java Support Package Manager, which is used in order for the application of support packages on the deployed components of the software. So basically, JSPM is an important tool that helps in installation of the packages and also the components. So to deploy the packages, JSPM often uses SDM. So now if you talk about SDM, so SDM is the abbreviation of Software Delivery Manager, which helps in importing support packages of Java. So this is also used for deploying software packages and also used to manage them. So these packages are said to be received from SAP. The next question is differentiate between support package, SAP note, and kernel. So SAP note is used to implement the removal of errors in a single program or transaction. The kernel is the one that contains .exe files, which is also known as executable files. So the older versions of these files gets replaced after the kernel gets upgraded. And now if you talk about the support package, so they are basically just the corrections. The next question is explain the SAP single stack system. So SAP system defines SAP singlet stack system. So these can have two types of runtime engines, which is Java or SAP NetWeaver as ABAP. So here an example could be a single stack system, which is basically SAP Enterprise Portal System. On the other hand, single stack system, which is ABAP, is basically the SAP ERP ECC. The next question is, mention the main responsibilities of the SAP Basis Administrator. So the primary responsibilities of the SAP Basis Admin are, as you can see on the screen, configuration as well as installation of the system. Next, the management of performances of various kinds of components. Then load server balancing and management of integration and interfaces along with servers, and managing various kinds of servers and services provided by them. The next question is, list the various kinds of user types in the SAP system and define each of them. So guys, there are basically 5 different types of user systems which are present in SAP. And these are, as you can see on the screen, dialog user, communication user, system user, service user, and reference user. So if you talk about dialog user, so this user is mainly used for accessing the interactive systems from GUI. If you talk about communication user, so this user is used for external RFC calls. The system user is mainly used to help the background processing and intra-system communication. Now, if you talk about service user, so with service user, you have anonymous and a large group of users that use this type. And last but not the least, if you talk about reference user, so here the allowance of an assignment of extra authorization is done by reference user. So these are not related to persons as users. The next question is, define SAP GUI. So SAP GUI is basically a client tool that helps in accessing the central server and also runs on various operating systems like Unix, Microsoft Windows, Mac, and so on. SAP applications like the SAP BI system and SAP ECC are all managed by SAP GUI. The next question is, what are the different standard clients found in SAP Basis and how can a new client be created in SAP System? So there are mainly 3 standard clients which are present in SAP Basis, and those are, as you can see on the screen, 000, 001, and 066. So if you talk about 000, so this becomes available with the installment of R3 system. So this is also known as the master client. If you talk about 001, so this is basically just a copy of 000. So it has a test copy. In order to create new clients, you can make use of 001. And now if you talk about 066, so this client is known as the SAP Early Watch. So if diagnosis and monitoring services are required in SAP system, so here you can use 066. And if you want to create a new client in SAP system, so there are a few steps that you must follow. So first, the transaction code which is to be used in order to create a new client is SSC4. After this, you have to click on new entries and put the details like city, client number, and name the currency and the roles. After this, data specific to the client needs to be entered and permission must be set. And last but not the least, you have to just click on the save option. So this is the procedure to create a new client in SAP system. The next question is, how can SAP system be locked or unlocked? So SAP system can be locked or unlocked in basically 2 ways. The first one is manual or forceful, and the second one is automatic. So for single user and for multiple users, the transaction to be used is SU01 and SU10 respectively. The next question is, mention the options or condition types available for a background job to be scheduled. So the conditions must be specified in order for the background job to be started. So this is set to trigger the start of the job. The following are the different kinds of start conditions that are to be used in order for the background job to be started. And those start conditions are immediate, after job, date or time, after event, and at operation mode. The next question is, mention the various categories which help in executing SAP background jobs. So guys, there are basically 3 categories over here. The first one is class A or high priority. Then you have the class B or medium priority. And then you have the class C or low priority. So if you talk about class A or high priority, so this category is mainly used for very critical and urgent tasks. Hence, these tasks also get scheduled with a class A priority job. Maybe one or more than that background work process gets reserved by a class A job. If you talk about class B or medium priority, so after a class A, this priority gets the job completed and these types of jobs get executed as well. And last but not the least is the class C or the low priority. So after the completion of classes A and classes B, the job of class C gets started. The next question is, mention the SAP GUI types suitable for various kinds of users. So users who are working with SAP system mainly use SAP GUI for Java or SAP GUI for Windows. So for users who are working as ABAP developers, SAP GUI for Windows is used. So when the operating systems of the users are not Microsoft, so SAP GUI for HTML and SAP GUI for Java are mainly used. However, they can also be used like SAP GUI for Windows. Next, for integration of DynPro transactions to the portal, mainly SAP GUI for HTML is used. So DynPro based applications are well integrated with the help of this onto the portal. The next question is, how can the instances be created in SAP system and how can they be configured? So instances in the SAP system get created when the system gets installed and configured. So processors, memory, and other resources get referred to in these instances. So various sources can be shared by users after logging in to the system. So this is also allowed by the SAP instances. So these are managed by the CCMS and users use them to log in to the SAP system. One or even more than one instance can be present in the SAP system, and using only one CCMS, only one instance can be set up in the system. So two or more of those instances can be used to configure the entire system. So there are a few points that you must keep in mind in order to configure a SAP instance. And those points are, first, separate directories for Unix, Windows NT Server, or AS400 are to be defined properly, as instances are mainly to be run on that particular server. Next, a shared file system can be used over here, and in the operating system configuration files, correct entries are to be put for the instances to be created. The next question is, define private mode in SAP Basis. So data sharing across the SAP system is not available in the private mode, as these data are allocated to specific users exclusively. So due to the exhaustion of the extended memory, this type of mode gets created. The next question is, can you install SAP patches when all the other users are active or online? So when all the other users are online, the SAP patches cannot be installed. So this is because the patches will not be able to get updated and terminated by the support manager. Hence, the best time to install SAP patches is when there is an absence of users login in the SAP system. The next question is, mention the use of the table TADIR. So guys, the object directory entries are included in the table called TADIR. The next question is, where does the list of repaired objects get stored in the SAP system? So the list of repaired objects gets stored in the system, including the ADIR access keys. The next question is, what are the uses of parameter tab? So parameter tab is basically used to allow access to the T code which is assigned to the users to work on. And similar to the previous question, the next question is, what are the uses of personalization tab? So the personalization tab can basically be used to connect to RFC across various systems. The next question is, what is the meaning of service user in the SAP system? So in service users, passwords are not checked, as the rights over the passwords are only entitled to the administrator. So users can make changes to the password and anonymous users can use the service users. So multiple logins are also possible in this system. The next question is, what is the meaning of reference user in SAP system? So GUI login is not possible for the reference user, and user authorization from one user to another is made possible by this during an emergency. The next question is, what are logon groups? So logon groups are mainly defined with the help of T code SMLG. So at first, the group needs to be created and then the instances are to be assigned for those particular groups. The next question is, mention the tools that are used in order to install Java patches. So SAP installer, that is SAP inst.exe, is to be employed in order to use or install Java patches. So these patches can be deployed with the help of JSPM, which is also known as Java Support Package Manager, or SDM, which is also known as Service Delivery Manager. The next question is, how many types of functional modules can be used in BDC? So data transfer can be successfully conducted with the help of BDC. And now there are three functional modules which are present here. As you can see on the screen, BDC open group, BDC insert, and BDC close group. So if you talk about BDC open group, so in this module, mainly the client and the sessions as well as the user names are defined specifically. In case of BDC insert, data can be inserted from one session to another with the help of BDC insert. And last but not the least, if you talk about BDC close group, so this is mainly used for closing the batch input session. The next question is, what is client refresh and how it is different from client copy? So client refresh mainly includes copying or overwriting to an existing client. However, if the newly developed client gets copied, so this is known as client copy. The next question is, what is the meaning of business KPIs? So the full form of business KPIs is key performance indicators. So the performance of a company gets indicated strategically with the help of KPIs. The performance of the company gets compared with the growth of the company here. In this way, KPIs help in leading the company by keeping a good track. It also helps in doing a comparison between various market leaders. The next question is, define supplementation language. So the SAP system gets installed with the German and English as the default language. So supplementary language gets installed in order to get the other languages. The next question is, name the SAP R3 system central interfaces. So guys, there are basically three system central interfaces which are present in SAP R3 system, and those are, as you can see on the screen, presentation, database, and operating system interface. The next question is, define SAP R3 Basis. So SAP R3 Basis is basically an administration platform that allows managing of SAP applications, R3 network, monitoring, and so on. The next question is, what are the SAP R3 architecture layers? So guys, there are basically three layers related to architecture which are present in SAP R3 system. And those layers are, as you can see on the screen, presentation layer, application layer, and database layer. The next question is, which transaction code is used for managing log entries in SAP? So guys, as you can see on the screen, SM12 is the transaction code that manages the SAP log entries. The next question is, for displaying the user list, which transaction code is used? So the transaction code which is used for displaying the user list is SM04. The next question is, name the phases of background that are processed in SAP. So there are basically three phases of background that are processed in SAP system, and those are job scheduling, job processing, and job overview. The next question is, define SAP spool request. So spool asks for are produced amid the discourse or background processing and put in the spool database with the data about the printer and the print arrangement. So the genuine information is put in the temporary sequential articles. The next question is, at the OS level in SAP, where can we check the system log? So guys, there are a few steps that you must follow. So first, you have to go to SAP Management Console, and after this, you have to search for system logs under the SID, and here you can check the directory, as you can see here, which is user, SAP, systems, and logs. So under this directory, you will be able to check the system log. The next question is, name some common transport errors. So guys, as you can see on the screen, these are some very frequently occurring transport errors, such as return code 4, which imports with warnings. Then you have the return code 8, which is imports with errors such as syntax, program generation, and dictionary activation errors. Then you also have the written code 12, which specifies the import cancelled. And last but not the least, you have the written code 18, which specifies the import cancelled. The next question is brief about the T000 table purpose in SAP. So the purpose of SAP T000 table is you can view the list of users that are defined in the SAP system. The next question is which table can be used for SAP user login data? So USR02 table is used for finding the user login details. The next question is how many profiles or roles can be assigned to a user in SAP? So a maximum of 312 profiles or roles can be assigned to users in SAP. So guys, with this, we have come to the end of this session on SAP Basis Interview questions. I hope you guys have enjoyed this session. If at all you have any queries or doubts related to this session, then you can write them in the comment section and we will try to resolve them as early as possible. So guys, I wish you all the very best for your upcoming interview and thank you so much for being with us.